Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and welcome back to this video. In this video, we're going to continue with the book Poor Charlie's Almanack, and as you can see on your screen, we're going to do talk 4 and we're going to do the revisited version of talk 4. Now, in the last couple of videos, we did talk 1, talk 2, talk 3, then we did the revisions or revisited parts of talk 1, talk 2, and talk 3. Now, in this particular video, we are first going to do the revisited version of talk 4. And then we're going to continue it with the revisited version of Talk 11. The reason for the same is that, as you will understand once we kind of do the revisited version of Talk 4, that Charlie himself says that he should have done Talk 11 first, or at least he should have put the Talk 11 in the book first and then have Talk 4. So, given that, how Charlie himself has stressed that Talk 11 is much more important to understand Talk 4, we'll follow the same. We'll do talk 4, we'll do the revisited version of talk 4, and then we'll do the revisited version of talk 11. And after that, we'll do an in-depth version of talk 11 first and then talk 4. So coming to the revisited version of talk 4, let's get started. Herein Charlie says that in this talk, I attempted to demonstrate large, correctable, and most important cognitive failures in the US academia and business. After all, I argued, if academia and business function with the best predictable results, most denizens would be able to explain the success of Coca-Cola Company through parsimonious use of basic concepts and problem-solving techniques. Yet, as the new Coke fiasco and its aftermath indicated, neither academia nor business had a respectable grasp on the simple realities causing the success of Coca-Cola. And then he continues that as matters worked out, my 1996 talk failed to get through almost all people hearing it. Then later, between 1996 and 2006, even when the talk's written version was slowly read twice by very intelligent people who admired me, its message likewise failed. In almost all cases, the message did not go through in any constructive way. On the other hand, no one said to me that the talk was wrong. Instead, people were very puzzled briefly, and then they moved on. Thus, my failure as a communicator was even more extreme than the cognitive failure I was trying to explain. Why? So, Charlie Munger tries to explain it by saying that the best explanation I now think is that I displayed gross folly as an amateur teacher. I attempted too much. I have always avoided all people who wanted to converse at length about the meaning of meaning. Yet, I chose this as the title Practical Thought About Practical Thought. This was the start into a very tough territory. Then I worked out a long, complex interplay of 5 generalized, powerful problem solving tricks with basic ideas from great many disciplines. I particularly included psychology, about which I wanted to demonstrate that there is so much lamentable ignorance even amongst the highly educated people, some of whom teach psychology. My demonstration naturally relied on the correct psychology as a part of my would be demonstration. This was logically sound, but if psychological ignorance is widespread, why would most of my hearers recognize that my version of psychology was correct? And thus, for most hearers, I did the rough equivalent of trying to explain some hard to comprehend ideas by simply defining those ideas as equivalent to themselves. Charlie Munger continues that this was not the outer limit of my teaching folly. After I knew that the written version of my talk was hard to understand, I consented to an order of talks in Poor Charlie's Almanack, wherein my psychology talk was Talk 11, inserted many pages after Talk 4. Instead, I should have recognized that the order of the two talks should have been reversed, considering that Talk 4 assumed the readers already mastered basic psychology and the subject of Talk 11. Then, finally, I preferred to maintain the original unhelpful order of the two talks. I did this because I like closing the book with my most recent organization of psychology into a sort of checklist that has long been helpful to me. Readers, if they wish, can correct somewhat for the teaching defects that I have stubbornly retained. This is that they can reread Talk 4 after mastering the final talk. If they're willing to endure this ordeal, I predict that there will be at least some of them that will find the result worth the effort. So, because of this, now, before we kind of do the revisits or any other talks in depth, let's do the revisit of Talk 11. This brings us to the revisit of Talk 11, and as you can see, the talk is titled The Psychology of Human Misjudgment. Let's get started. Let's try and understand what Charlie said when he was revisiting this particular talk. So here is the Talk 11 revisited. Here Charlie says that in this talk made in 2000, I gave favorable mention to Judith Rich Harris's strong-selling book, The Nurture Assumption. You will recall that this work demonstrated that the peer pressure on the young is far more important and parental nurture is much less important than has been commonly recognized. He goes on to say that the success of the book, with its vast practical implications, has an interesting story behind it. Long before the book was published, Harris was kicked out of Howard's PhD program in psychology because Howard believed that she lacked the qualities ideal in psychological research. Then later, out of illness and obscurity, she was pretty much housebound through adult life by unfixable autoimmune disease. She published an academic paper on which her subsequent book was based. And for that paper, she won a prestigious medal named after the man who signed her dismissal notice from Harvard, awarded annually by the American Psychological Association for the distinction in published writing. Charlie Munger says that when I learned from her impressive book that this ironic result had occurred, I wrote to Harvard, my alma mater, urging it to award Harris, whom I did not know, an honorary PhD, or better yet, a real PhD. I cited the example of Oxford. That great university once allowed its best student, that is Samuel Johnson, to leave without a degree because he was too poor to continue paying tuition. But Oxford later made gracious amends. It gave Johnson a doctorate after he conquered sickness and became famous in a tough climb, once described in his own words, slow rises worth by poverty oppressed. Charlie says that I failed utterly in my effort to convince Harvard to imitate Oxford in this way. But Harvard did later recruit from MIT one of the most famous living psychology professors, Steven Pinker, and Pinker is the big admirer of Harris. From this step, we can see one reason why its liberal arts division is more highly regarded than most others. The division's extreme depth often allows partial correction of bonehead errors that would flourish unopposed elsewhere. In 2006, Harris, struggling further through her unfixable illness, published another book, No Two Alike. The title is apt because one central question to the author assaults is why identical twins turn out to be so different in important aspects of personality. Her dogged curiosity and rigor in dealing with this question remind me of both Darwin and Sherlock Holmes. And her solution is very plausible. As she collects and explains data from professional literature, including an interesting case wherein one of the two identical twins becomes a success in business and family life while the other twin went to Skid Row. Charlie Munger says that I won't here disclose Harris's desirably generalized answer to her central question because it would be better for Almanack readers to first guess the answer, then read her book. If Harris is roughly right, which seems very likely to me, she has twice, from her very handicapped position, produced academic insights of great practical importance in child rearing, education, and much else. How could this rare and desirable result happen? Well, by Harris's own account, she was an impertinent and skeptical child. And these qualities, plus patient, determined skill, have obviously served her truth seeking nature well, all the way through age 67. No doubt she was also assisted by her enthusiasm in destroying her own ideas, as she now demonstrates by apologizing for her former work as a textbook writer who repeated wrong notions now outgrown. In this talk, I displayed some impertinency of my own by delivering an extremely sounding method. It claims nothing less than that. First, academic psychology is hugely important. Second, even so, it is usually ill thought out and ill represented by its PhD denizens. And third, my way of presenting psychology often has large superiority in practical utility compared to most textbooks. Charlie Munger says that naturally, I believe that these extreme claims are correct. After all, I assemble the material contained in this talk to help me succeed in practical thinking and not to gain advantage by making public any would be clever notions. If I'm partly right, the world will eventually see more psychology in roughly the form of this talk. And if so, I confidently predict that the change in practice will improve general competency. And with that, I have nothing more to add. So this is the revisit of Charlie Munger's Talk 11. I hope you've enjoyed this video, which was a combination of the revisit of Talk 4 and Talk 11. In the next video, we will do an in-depth of Talk 11 first, and then an in-depth of Talk 4, and then we'll proceed chronologically 5, 6, 7, 8. With this, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Do stay tuned in for more. Thank you.